Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host Ryan Staley, and I have a very, very special guest with me on today. I have Brian Robertson. Brian is the CEO and founder of VisiQuate. He's actually been a 3-time founder, one with a consulting company and then 2 SaaS companies he founded. And then for nearly 3 decades, Brian's been leading the use of advanced analytics to disrupt economics and enhancing quality of healthcare. Brian, happy to have you on the show, man.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. It's been great to get to know you.
Yeah, this is the first time I think on the history of the Scale Up Show where the pre-show might actually eclipse the actual show of recording time. So Brian and I were jamming before, and then we had a good time. So we went a little bit long,
You've been
but anyways,
recording. There was
really, yeah, man. I'm excited to share you with my audience and you, the listeners. So Brian, let's do a quick revenue rundown so people understand a little bit more about you and your organization and kind of where you're at in the journey. So can you give us an understanding of where you're at in terms of your ARR?
Yeah. So we just passed the 30 million AR mark last year. So very
Congrats.
excited, and by the way, had really proud of our team and what they accomplished during COVID. Um, you know, we it was hard to fill the funnel with all because we're a very trade show centric, in a very trade show centric, and got to always be meeting new people. But team did an amazing job and hit numbers, exceeded numbers, and managed to keep recruiting and building muscle. So very excited. We're on the path now to 40 to 50% growth per year because we raised
Amazing.
capital last year as well. So spent a lot of time in our startup years, getting the foundation of what we wanted to accomplish from a technology platform. Wanted to have really high quality, what we call cornerstone clients, marquee clients, really build the VisiQuate brand and reputation. All of our people are amazing and they all have stellar reputations themselves, but together we wanted to really have that sort of VisiQuate, branded reputation stand on its own. And before we raised the big capital dollars, and we have a phenomenal partner now, Sixth Street Capital. So there's gas in the tank, and just very exciting because we can kind of take all the methods from founders and executive selling, and then we've had a small sales team of about 4 people for the last 2 years, and they're hitting an amazing stride again, even despite COVID. And so now taking that model and growing it, and really expanding. I mean, in our industry, in healthcare, just in the United States, you got to cover the map, right? So now it's just getting the word out. Stop being the best kept secret. More shots at goal. People know us, but people don't know us. So
You're
it's a
known in
fun
your
time at the
community.
company right now, though. I'll tell you, I'm so excited for where we are in our evolution, and just the passion and the energy and enthusiasm of everybody in the company right now, to that's addicted to, hey, how do you help clients move the needle with advanced analytics, right? The notion of data's the new oil kind of stuff. That's
Yeah,
that's our life. So
I love that. And I've never really heard it expressed that way. That data is the new oil. So, but
yeah.
totally makes sense. Congrats on your round of funding. Was that the first time you took funding last year?
We founded the company with seed and angels, and did some VC about 5 6 years in, but lighter weight VC. Um, Wanted to kind of bootstrap and build it on the backs of contracts, and really hunker down, and then hit that mark where it's easier to raise capital when you've hit certain thresholds, right? So
Right. Yeah.
it's a lot easier when you get over 20 and you've de-risked, and you've got case studies and happy referenceable clients. And so we were wanting at various points and considering raising, but it was like just it was never the sweet spot in our mind. Like, it's like, no, let's close a few more deals. Let's get a few more case studies behind our belt. And so Um, when I reflect back on it, there's times where I wish I would have done it sooner, but you know, it, that's you can spend a lot of time thinking about that. We are where we are, and we're super stoked and ready to kick butt and take names.
That's awesome. So big year, plowed through COVID, 40 to 50% growth, massive funding round. What's your go-to-market strategy?
Um, it's really we're focused on in our world. There's about 800 logos, so we're an account-based marketing, highly focused, targeted. And while there's 800 providers, we sell to the provider side of healthcare. There's the top 200 classic Pareto principle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really uh, our our biz development folks, have a book of 50 to 60 accounts, and their goal is to have, total command, what I call total command, really know each of those clients. Where are they in their journey? Are they growing through merger and acquisition? Do they have centers of excellence? Who's on the board? What are their strategic imperatives? Like, where can we help them in operational effectiveness? Like, so we're very different than like shotgun type strategies. It's more targeted. Really get to know your clients, um, and of course it's spread across the map. So we have, you know, um, a variety of sales regions, but we're more focused on where people have relationships because
Mm-hmm.
it's all about relationship equity and trust. We have long, complex sales cycles. So if you start you know, with some relationship trusted advisor credibility, then it's easier to showcase and illustrate, our offerings.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I live the life and what you're talking about, and if you're selling and taking down those big contracts, there's the biggest fear that people have is making the wrong decision and getting fired, right? So building out that trust is hyper critical, and
yeah.
there's so many amazing byproducts of it though. Just the people you meet, the referrals you get, and the growth once you get in there. So excited to dig into that a little bit deeper. How big is your team?
Right now we have about 10 and growing. So at full capacity, we'll have close to 20, with 16 having, a number, a bogey, and then, 4 to 5 in sales ops and enablement. Um, so yeah, they're that's what it takes to kind of cover the map, right? Is uh, 15 of them with about 50 to 60 really high impact accounts. We do our best work, by the way, selling to larger health systems. Effectively, we run, there's so many words to describe what we do, but we're like I try to simplify it, fully managed service, but it's an expert based service because it's really hard to do advanced analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just taking all of the disparate silos of information, normalizing, cleansing, curating that data before you do anything to it, from a visualization standpoint or workflow. Um, so I tell people if you really want to move the needle on analytics, it's not for the faint of heart, and you should you should partner because we have everybody on the team, is an expert at what they do, and it takes a lot to actually have a BI implementation or an analytics implementation that meets the needs of the users, from the CFO to the line staff to um, billers, collectors, case managers. It takes a lot of knowledge about what they need, so you have all that domain knowledge around what the users need, and where what they need is always has to be focused on value. And then it takes a lot to build all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
um, so we offer it as a full blown service where you're, as a SaaS company, right? You're licensing our technology stack, but we're actually doing your data curation for you every day. So it's like I say, you show up with a cup of coffee and a good attitude, and let the indicators tell you where to go, right?
That's an awesome model. So it sounds like it's SaaS plus services is your model, right?
Yeah,
Where
that's
you
right.
have the SaaS. Is it a platform
Yeah, I
or?
mean, we're a little bit of all of the as a service. I like to say we're results as a service, because I tell people, like, what do you do? I said, we sell return on analytics. I can tell you 100 things about what we do, but, organizations live and die by investing in things that, create a creative value. And so data should be about competing, winning, moving the needle on analytics. And so while we sell a platform and we sell data as a service, where it's all how all those things come together to help the client. Like, data's the new oil, right? What are you doing every day to create the business health of your organization? Because our clients are great at creating clinical excellence. We're on the other side of the house creating operating and business excellence is really our passion, using data and methods, um, you know, really teaching the clients how to fish too, right? So we're focused on data in the hands of clients so they feel empowered. They don't have to outsource and they don't have to do, uh, as much outside consulting.
Okay. So a lot of things from there I want to circle back on. So you said you have 10, you're ramping up to 20. Is that just on your sales team that you're at or company
Yeah.
wide? Okay. How many do you have company
Oh yeah.
wide?
No, that's on. Sorry, I thought you were. Yeah. So that's absolutely just sales team. So we have about. Uh, we'll end this year with U.S. staff of about 140.
Okay. 140.
Um, we'll add 40 people this year.
Wow.
Um, Plenty in sales and marketing, and then client success, so account management to support all of the new de novo, all the new logos. Um, and then, by the way, I have about 250 people um, in various uh, across the pond offshore, with a decent concentration in Ukraine. Uh, by the way, the shirt that I'm wearing is connected. This is called a Vishivanka, and
Nice.
it's you know I've been trying to support my colleagues every day by wearing. They gifted this to me on one of my birthdays on a trip. But we have an amazing group of folks in Ukraine and Eastern Europe and Western Europe that are great at engineering, quantitative methods. They're the ones behind the scenes that do complex data integration, complex curation, build the platform. We do a lot of the architecture and design work in the U.S. and a lot of the, and they participate plenty in architecture and design as well. But um, a lot of the building and the ongoing delivery is leveraging the power of our offshore model and kind of a follow the sun strategy and really where you find talent. I tell people all the time, they say, why do you go to Ukraine? It's like, because there's very talented people there. If you want developers that are gifted in math and applied mathematics, and you know, many of them are also musicians, so they bring that great left brain, right brain balance to the equation. Um, Not to mention the whole world right now is seeing what I've always called the magic of Ukraine or the magic of Ukrainians, right? They have just amazing spirit and passion and strength and pride in what they do, everything they do. Um, we're seeing that play out in very unfortunate circumstances on the world stage. But at the same time, I have a lot of people that are now saying, I think I understand why you've been going to Ukraine. Those people are amazing.
That's
Um,
awesome. I
yeah.
mean, not awesome with what's going on with them, but I mean, I think it's amazing your level of support. And if you're listening, Brian is wearing the outfit, which looks pretty cool, man. I think I might have to get one of those myself. I might
Yeah,
have
it's
to,
got a little, there's tassels. The tassels come for free.
but it looks worldly. I mean, I think it's amazing support for your team that you're doing that, and just kind of speaks to the tragedy and what's happening over there. And it's funny because I haven't had a lot of experience with. I don't think I've had any experience with Ukrainian people, but it sounds like a beautiful culture, beautiful people. So my heart goes out to your folks and
Thank you.
everybody listening. If say a prayer for them, and hope that they get through this, because it's just unfortunate kind of what's happening right now. So
Yeah. Thank you for
um,
that. Really appreciate that.
no problem, man. So circling back, the other thing that I'm going to ask you, if I could ethically steal, is the results as a service, because I'm a
Sure.
massive believer in results, and so I
Yeah.
love that. Never heard it expressed with that. I'm gonna copy
Royalty
a couple
free.
things.
Royalty free license at your disposal.
Royalty, and then you got oil is the or data is the new oil, which I think is hilarious and
I
insightful at
wish
the
I
same
could
time.
take credit for that one. I know the first time I read it, I was like, "Oh, there we go." And
Where'd you see it?
here's
Where'd
why
it
I
come
like that though. It's like we do live in a data economy, right? I think people hear that, but what I liked about the data as in oil is that it reminds me of all the stages we go through. Like, in the energy industry, like if you take something like raw crude, look at what the process that has to go through, whether
from?
it's jet fuel or 87 or 91 octane or something that powers your weed whacker. The
Hmm.
refining process, there's so many parallels to the data world. We take all this complex data that's so raw, and it has to go through so many layers of refinement to be truly actionable, to be meaningful, not just a pretty dashboard, but something that's got leading indicators that tell you where the business is and what you need to do to be more effective. So yeah, I mean, we do live in a world of buzzwords and corporate, BS bingo, but I don't know, that one I'm hanging on to.
No, yeah, I think you run with it, man. So let's talk about your journey here. How did you get to this point? It sounds like you had the consulting business you started, and then two SaaS companies. Was that foundational to you becoming who you are today, or can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Early in my career, I I was, sort of raised and trained in a consulting environment in the healthcare industry. Just kind of fell into it. Um, Learned how to do medical coding, in college, and then fell into a consultancy that was focused on the revenue cycle. Um, and so I did that for a couple of years, and I thought, I think I want to just do this myself because I was building my own relationships and clients wanted my attention, and so I started building my own team and hung a shingle, and um, you know I was in my 20s and um, already having kids, and it's like, okay, it's time to. I got bills to pay and kids to get through college, and so it's time to become a serious adult here. So had a lot of fun for goodness, like 5 6 years, traveling, to places far and wide. You get something done, and a CFO or a VP of revenue cycle tells their friend, and you know, our goal was always to go in and do something very impactful in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and then train them. We didn't want to just always turn the crank. What started to happen is before we even realized it, we were building a lot of, you started out with models in Excel, right?
Hmm.
So we're building all kind of revenue models and things that move the needle in a hospital system type revenue cycle. What happens in the front office, what happens in the middle office, what happens in the back office. And then those spread marts or spreadsheets, back then start evolving more and more into an application. Then it became, well, we should use Microsoft Access and build this into an application, have a front end and have buttons that guide the user. Oh, and then we need something more powerful. We're going to now migrate that to SQL Server. And so that evolved into, I joined forces with another guy that had a claims processing company, clearinghouse. And so he had one side of the house, I had the other. We formed this company called Medi Finance. And it was in the early 2000s when the dot bomb implosion had happened. It's like, oh, great, we're starting a company using the internet to deliver, right? When the whole thing just kind of collapsed, it was like, well, the internet's still up and running, so what the heck? Um, and yeah, it was one of those things that just was. We had to grind it out for a couple of years to get the mojo, but then we just hit. It made sense, right? We were able to deploy it over the internet. You weren't shipping CDs anymore. Um, so that second company, a lot of lessons learned about how do you meet the needs of a lot of clients that want the same thing but they need different things. Um, and that was a great ride and did lots of lessons learned, lots of scar tissue, um, and then myself and my co-founder JK, we did a lot of traveling together in the later years of Medi, and it was just that point in your career. It's like, all right, let's start fresh. Let's like wipe the grease board clean here. We have a lot of knowledge in our industry, we have a lot of relationships, and we want to let's do this truly our way. Let's put our own je ne sais quoi on something. Um, and that was 2009, and you know we grew the business brick by brick exactly how we wanted. Um, didn't take money too fast, so you're serving different masters that you don't want to serve. I always say like the number one thing is clients, then come employees, because if you don't have clients, you don't have employees. Sorry if there's any of my shareholders listening, because I tell this, you're third in line, right? I don't believe that in the old adage that the shareholders will enjoy all of the benefits of their investment if we die for the client every day,
Hmm.
right? I like to say, how do you become a trusted advisor to your clients? Like, you go to war with them in some capacity, the business, you know, the data war, and you go down to hell and rip the head off the devil, and you prove to them that you have their back and they trust you. And then that becomes, incremental and then exponential. Um, that's a little bit just on the kind of the VisiQuate mindset as well.
Yeah, I love that. And that's so true too. I mean, because you're dealing with big, hairy, complex problems, so it takes a
Yeah.
lot for people to probably trust what you're doing,
Yeah.
which is why the sales cycle takes so long, right? Because there's that lack of
Yes.
trust. Data is hyper valuable, and so I could imagine once you break through, you're like their best friend, right? In terms of
Yeah.
what you deliver. Um,
Yeah. Our goal is to get, I make no bones about it. Sometimes people say, oh, your staff shouldn't be your friends or your clients should be your friends. I'm like, okay, I can't even comprehend that, right? Our goal is to get on their Christmas card list, right? And so you know, go around the table of our staff and we're on a lot of Christmas card lists because it's trust, and trusts turn into friendships. And, it's, to me, it's, especially if you're doing complex enterprise selling,
oh yeah,
you know, there are different business models where that would create the client acquisition cost threshold would be too high. But when you're doing complex enterprise sales and you're in for the long haul, um, you're not doing situational gimmicks or investing, or you know you're creating true value for people that are going to be around for a while and always need your help.
yeah, yeah. That's, I mean, you nailed it on the head right there. I love that, the get on the Christmas card list. One of the relationship ranking categories that I have when I'm
Or
working
I
with
should say
clients.
holiday card list though, which
Holiday card. Oh, yeah, that's right. Holiday
to
card
be
list.
clear,
The other is, I have people rank throughout the sales process when they're developing these relationships, ranking on a scale of 1 through 5. One is that person individually won't meet with you outside a group meeting, that being the worst, right? And 5
yep,
being the best, where you get invited to their kid's birthday party, right? Or
yeah,
something like that,
something like that. Yep.
which is right in a line with the holiday card list. So I love that. Um, so talk to me. I mean, you started in 2009. You grew business brick by brick. In terms of growing revenue, what do you think, what was your framework that really accelerated revenue and changed the game for you in terms of your growth?
Yeah, it's a lot of things, but I'll probably go back to it is all about I call it relationship equity. Um, and that trust that you build with, healthcare is big, but it's also small, right? We
Hmm.
always joke that, healthcare is now approaching 20% of the economy. But in the provider side of healthcare and then in the revenue cycle, and it's, it's a small, chummy cottage style industry. Um, so, in our case, and I think this is because of enterprise selling versus there's not a lot of methods that we use to get to the next level. There's not it wasn't how we brought together our systems, where lead gen and the flywheel for all the things that I think more broader go to market strategies, have to be better at. In our case, it's really we try to hire people that yes have a Rolodex, but I never liked that term. How big is your Rolodex? I said we all have a Rolodex if we've been in this industry. Who are the 3 to 5 people that would say you have their back? You've always had their back. You have created massive value for them,
Hmm.
and they now trust you because you created massive value, right? So I like one of the things I just despise. I can't overcome it in many cases. I cannot stand being called a vendor. It makes my and people in the industry say, well, we seek to have partners, not vendors, and half of them are being authentic and the other half are not. Um, but that's what we're focused on. We're focused on relationships that if I hire sales individuals or business development people that have, let's just even use, you know, logical numbers. They've got 50 quality people in their Rolodex.
Hmm.
But what are the 3 to 5 that really trust you so that you can get some victories on the board early?
Hmm.
Because if you get victories on the board early, VisiQuate's a team sport too. Like once we get a client on, we die to make them happy and trust us, right? Then that breeds momentum and confidence. So
Hmm.
it's like, call in some favors, say, trust me on this. We'll crawl, walk, run, right? But that's gonna get the snowball rolling. And then it's when all the snowballs are running, that's where we can now sort of scale what we're doing. So it really is about, you know, relationship equity, which also is, are you likable and fun at the same time that you're serious and focused? Are you good at what you do, but are you fun to be around and are you likable?
Hmm.
And I think, our culture, we kind of overinvest and look for that. I mean, we meet a lot of very talented people on paper, pedigree, experience, very impressive. Can I swear on your show?
Yo, hell yeah.
Okay.
Let it rip.
I have a rule: no bozos and no assholes.
There you go.
And my team is really, really good. We can spot a bozo or an asshole a mile away. And sometimes bozos and assholes have a lot of chops on paper.
Oh yeah.
There's no way that you'll get into VisiQuate if you're not serious and focused and an expert at what you do, um, or you're a diamond in the rough for our younger folks. But you better be fun and likable, right? And somebody that can hang out, that clients can hang out with. Um, and all of those things are the softer, more nuanced things that are creating momentum for us. And
And
I think
and
that does happen more with complex enterprise sales versus, because I do recognize a lot of the stuff, and I've loved getting to know you and read your stuff. A lot of that stuff is very, very important for anybody, but it's if you're doing, lower ticket and broader market, right? If you're selling to 10,000 people versus 800, then you better have great, well-balanced process. You better have a lot of arrows in the quiver. You need every edge you can get. In our case, we appreciate and have those things, but it's really about relationship power um, in our world. Because I don't know. I don't know if cold calling, I don't know if cold calling in our industry works. If if it happens, I think it's more based on luck. Some of my staff will spar with me on that, but
Well, then, and I love that framework. And so two follow-up questions to that. And I know we're getting close on time, so I want to be sensitive of that. One, how do you attract those people that have those 3 to 5, you know, strong relationships? So that's my first question. And then after you answer that, once they, I don't want to say blow through, but once they execute on those 3 to 5, what what do you, or how do they keep executing once they get past those relationships?
yeah, I think it's just they're very involved, obviously, in the sale itself.
Mm-hmm.
Their their clients want them involved. As we start to stand up the solution, right? They're checking in, making sure that we deliver. They take their reputation very seriously. So um, once there's a couple of, then they can tell stories. Then they have reference points. You know, the goal is to get,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one of our sayings is try to get VisiQuate paid for in the training session. So when you take a client live on advanced analytics, don't give a feature functionality training session. Say, all right, you're a multi-billion-dollar health system with the same challenges around claim denials and bad debt and all of these things. So let's go find some money. How do you train clients on the system? Let's go find some anomalies. Let's go find some where payers are, you know, slow paying or not paying, or where you have to get your house in order.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that kind of when you're doing things with data, the power of data is once they get it's one of those things that once you've solved problems with really good analytics, not crappy dashboards, which the world is strangling on a bunch of crappy stuff out there. But when you have the right balanced diet of leading indicators that are truly correlate to value, and the client has solved a $1 million problem, a $5 million problem, a $10 million problem, it just success breeds success kind of dynamic. So that momentum, it's back to the earlier thread. I think what they do to get to the next level is invest in that early bolus, you know, become a value machine for that portion of your portfolio, and that will be the gift that keeps giving.
So a
Because the
big expansion
clients are
model
going to
then.
say, "Give me some case studies, give me some reference points," right? They're going to do all that. So
Okay. And do you have a big land and expand model as well?
we do, yeah. It's our goal is to solve some problems in a big way around topical things, but then become a verb. So we call it visiquation, or even just I got to visiquate. It's like Google is a verb. It's like solve a problem in a certain area, and then oh, I got another one for you guys, right? So it land and expand. The goal is to have it happen organically and naturally, where the client's coming up with the ideas. Um, there's always heavy collaboration on that, but
Okay.
we have clients that uh, we take one data set and we solve one problem, and we now run their entire enterprise data warehouse, and it's hitting 20 departments.
Wow.
So it's very, very conducive to land and expand, but it's always based on trust and getting something done and being fun and you know likable as well.
Well, I could see, I mean, just from spending the last hour with you or so, um, I'm sure you attract the people like yourself, which I mean, you're very open, honest, fun to be around. So then you leverage people that have relationship equity, those 3 to 5 people that have trust, massive value, helps them get victories early, which creates momentum. And then you give them the instant win where they find money in the training session, which I absolutely love because people love fast results, and that makes it sticky. And then next thing, which you get a lot of great sound bites, man, where you go around from being topical to becoming a verb. So I love that, and then that creates more business within itself. So
What
all
happens
right.
when you're a podcast junkie, right? You get all these
Yeah,
little.
dude, it's awesome. I gotta nail some of my like if you haven't listened to it, and he didn't go super heavy, but Myron Golden's got a lot. He's on my show. He's got awesome sound bites that just like melt your brain sometimes. So
Oh, that's cool.
um, so we're just about up on time. So let me do a quick founder fire, and then we'll wrap things up. So who's the top founder or CEO that you follow right now that you really enjoy or appreciate?
Uh, Branson's like always in my top five,
Mm-hmm.
and just when I think, um, there's going to be some new people to take the mantle. Um, it- Stylistically, I always tell people like VisiQuate, we're trying to do a couple of things. The personality that Branson brings, just the style and the personality and the fun factor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not new ideas, right? Records and airplanes and hotels, those are not new ideas, but man, he sure makes them awesome and delivers an experience. And in all of his books and in his own how he embraces social media, he's just an authentic guy doing trying to make the world a better place, unafraid and unapologetic about having a lot of fun along the way. So he's always in I think many people on our leadership team, um, you know, Apple, and always appreciate Apple because they care so much
Mm-hmm.
about the quality. So, delivering an experience over just, I mean, Apple versus Microsoft, we're much more Apple in the context of not just do we use Apple, but it's just that left and right brain being infused into the product, creativity and humanities. That's how we try to play from that from a product standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And then, rest in peace, Tony Hsieh. I just love how he with Zappos. Um, I used to say, I guess I am becoming older because we used to always refer to the Nordstrom's way.
Mm-hmm.
You go into they lost their way by the way. Um, and Zappos for me just took over that, like, because again, they do white glove service and, with the right attitude. I appreciate the Four Seasons and the Fairmont Hotel and what they bring to white glove service, but it just becomes a little bit stodgy and uppity.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, the Zappos, like somebody's buying shoes and kids are screaming in the background and she's got to order pizza, like order pizza for her. She's your client, right? I mean,
That's awesome.
we lean into that from the style of how you service clients, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, those are three that are always in the. I have. I'd probably give Bezos a little shit. I liked what he said a lot about day one. Always be day one. Always appreciated his annual reports. Um, you know, I don't know. The minute he started working out and uh, he a little shines off the Bezos one for me. I like Musk. I like Musk because you know we, we all know he's smart, but he's smart in ways that people don't give him. His EQ is off the charts, and
Yeah.
he can read a room better than anyone. And man, I love when people like the SEC. You know, I love when he pokes the bear for all the right reasons.
Oh yeah. He can move the entire markets with a tweet. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
he's like playing the orchestra with that. So, what's your favorite book you've read over the past couple of years?
Past couple of years, The Hard Thing About Hard Things is one of my all-time favorites because it's so frickin' real
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, I mean, you and I talked in the jamming session, right? The idea of an overnight sensation, we all know that that's bullshit. It's the school of hard knocks and scar tissue and how many times you got your ass kicked in, your
Yeah.
face kicked in, um, and I find Ben Horowitz, when he was building his company before Andreessen Horowitz, it's refreshing when a guy like, and I always recommend people, I've read the book, but listen to the book. What a great book to listen to, like on a 4-hour drive, because it's just raw and it's what really happens. How do you become successful? Like it's 2% about your idea and 98% about sweat and getting your face kicked in and, classic, all the get back on the horse, all that stuff. But his storytelling is just so like, oh, it's either stuff that you can relate to and be empathetic, or it's stuff that may happen to you that you can get prepared for.
So truth be told, I own the book, but I have not read it yet. So your little riff on it just made me. It's moving up the charts now. I gotta listen to it.
Right
I'll
on.
get it on Audible. So
Well,
I'll
you gave
definitely.
me the tip on Driven, so I'll read Driven. You do the hard thing about hard things, and then you
We'll
agree
do
to be
it.
on my podcast, right? Which we're
Yeah,
well,
yeah, dude. I love being on
we do a
podcasts.
book report, man.
Well, it's funny because just being on other people's shows, like a lot of times if they ask good questions, it really helps you deconstruct your thought patterns sometimes that you didn't know were there that are in your subconscious. So
Yeah,
that's
so
one of the
true.
things I love about it. And then just meeting people too. Like you meet so many amazing people being on
Yeah,
shows and getting to know them. So,
agreed.
um,
Agreed. Yeah.
so last but not least, where do you see the future of tech going?
Uh, I think AI and machine learning is here to stay, but it's got to be really always narrowly focused around very specific business problems.
Hmm.
So, for example, the Aon or the IBM Watson strategy, right? Watson beat a human being at Jeopardy and then Master Chess, and so we all know that AI works, right? When it's on the right, when it's focused. So, I think if people focus on the power of AI and machine learning in very practical ways and they go very, very narrow in solving what they're good at or their discrete problems, then I think it's going to be, you know, there'll be exponential value over time. Um, I'm not one of those guys that, by the way, worries about, the robots taking over.
Skynet?
If it,
Talking about Skynet?
yeah, Skynet. I mean, if it happens, I don't know. I'm not a sci-fi guy, so I'm more practical. But I love the fact that Amazon, when I go to, even if I go to buy new guitar picks, Amazon's like, the minute I type in guitar picks, it's like, well, here's your buying history for the last, blah, blah, blah. And so I love the power of AI, machine learning, everything surrounding that to deliver good value.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great insight. Well, as we talked before, I could talk with you for another hour on this stuff, but I know we both have our day jobs we got to get back to. So,
Yeah,
where
likewise.
can people find you? Where can they learn more about what you're doing, what the company is doing, and then we'll call it a wrap.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, so I suppose I'm on LinkedIn. There's 100,000 Brian Robertsons, but I'm the Brian Robertson that's affiliated with VisiQuate. So VisiQuate.com, um, and I, again, pretty soon we'll have a podcast that we're coming out with called Peak Business Health. Love to have you on. And Recently, I've been doing more in social. Doesn't come natural to me, but with the events in Ukraine, I felt compelled and obligated to tell some stories, and I might be getting pulled into it because the response has been amazing. But I'd also say the VisiQuate.com website for anybody that, there is a donations page if you feel so inclined. But yeah.
Well, excellent, man. Is there a link that your team could give me, and we could put it in the show notes, so that if anybody listening wants to donate, they could just click on the link and do that?
Yeah, it's VisiQuate.com/Ukraine. And it's also on our main page. So if you go to VisiQuate.com, it's going to live on the main page for a while.
Okay.
If you do /Ukraine, you can also find it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, it was a pleasure having you on. This was awesome. And yeah, definitely check out VisiQuate Ukraine, make a donation if you feel inclined, and give back. But it was awesome having you on the show, Brian. Really, really appreciate you, appreciate what you're doing and your viewpoints and your sound bites, by the way. So thanks for being on, man. And I look forward to being on your show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ryan. I can't wait to have you, and really appreciate you reaching out. It's been great to get to know you.
Yeah, you too, man. All right, we'll call it a wrap.
All right, cheers.